You have many years experience in IP in Mexico. Back in 2016, in your article Amendments to Granted Patents, a vital tool to strengthen claims, written for the International Law Office, you stated patent laws and patent prosecution criteria worldwide have changed considerably in the past few years. Have you seen the current COVID-19 situation contributing even more changes to patent laws and patent prosecution criteria in the last few months?
I may say that this outbreak has definitely revealed that changes are not only needed, but are urgent, especially in patent laws. Um, particularly in my country, Mexico, I must mention that despite the fact that important and very fruitful changes have been made not only in the legislation, but also in operational matters of the practice of the patent prosecution, such as the extension of the validity of industrial designs that have been extended to 25 years, the protection, and also in the Mexican Institute of Industrial Property. And, there has been a technological revolution by taking the paperless policy. This has been implemented um, and nowadays the management of industrial property matters can already be carried out almost 100% online. So the conceptualization of changes is still imperative. Bigger and more significant that allow facing this type of health emergencies that we are experiencing. The patents in this type of health issues become more protagonist than in any other scenario. This is where COVID-19 is teaching us and forcing us to discover alternatives and improvements in all aspects that involve a patent, from the filing to its even the licensing. The licensing is precisely in this outbreak that we are experiencing the most important thing, and the articles of the law that are relevant to the compulsory and public utility licenses. In this area, COVID-19 is reminding us that a reform is urgent. A change in the legislation on licensing, at least in Mexico, is very urgent. In fact, since the middle of last year in Mexico, not only changes in industrial property law has been assembled, COVID-19 arrives, and therefore we are facing a tremendous opportunity to reflect the necessary changes in the new law that is brewing.
Has Mexico exercised the right for compulsory licensing during this time?
Uh, Look, actually not compulsory, but more utility licenses. Um, in fact, it's very interesting that, as you remember, the last outbreak, the flu, the H1N1, is very curious because here in Mexico, the Mexican Institute didn't approve the utility licenses because they say that there were not the conditions enough to be fulfilled in order to declare or to make a declaration. But now that we have all the conditions, we discovered that the Mexican law, um, has a very big failure because the Mexican law says that the Mexican Institute has 90 days to analyze the prospect in order to declare if you are able to use an utility license. So 90 days now is too much time. Now it's crazy now. So that is why it is very urgent a reform in this sense, specifically in this article. So the main problem is that there is not a patent, there is not a technology now for the vaccine in order to exploit it. So we are only trying to search the technologies available in order to try to manufacture a vaccine.
Absolutely, Ivan. So you are an intellectual property engineer at BC&B, and you used to freelance as an intellectual property counsel. Have you seen this COVID-19 situation having a financial impact on IP stakeholders? And Especially you specifically focus your practice on the oil industry. Have you seen any financial impact in that industry in particular?
It is undoubtedly. Uh, well, not only oil, but for example, now in my activity, in the last 2 weeks, we have received a lot of requests from IP stakeholders for discounts on IP services rates. Um, Also, they have requested a lot of investment projections for the rest of the year in order that they can shorten in their investments. So of course, these requests reflect the financial concern of the on the IP stakeholders. Um, for example, here in Mexico, or well, not only in Mexico, in all the world, the oil price, no, you know that it it went very down. So, of course, for the users, it was a great was a great news, no, because we can enjoy for example, the gasoline with low rates, but of course, the economical impact is the second most concern that we are facing now. Just last April, here in Mexico, there were more than 500,000 job losses. So, specifically, well, here in Mexico, as you may aware, and there are a lot of manufacturing industries, and the manufacturing industry depends a lot in labor, in the physical assistance of employees to produce the, the products. No? So I think it is undoubtedly this economical impact. And for the other side, the pharmaceutical industry, in contrast, I think they have a big opportunity. A big opportunity in order to, as we were discussing now, to look for an utility license or to look for the technologies to try to make a vaccine, to collaborate with other countries, scientists, um, and maybe they can obtain better economical impact or positive results due to the high demand of the vaccine and the medicaments that the doctors are currently using to treat the COVID-19 people who are suffering.
Considering your solid experience in IP filings in Mexico, US, Canada, the EPO, and Australia, do you see the current situation having an impact on international collaboration?
It is centrally appreciated from the fact that supplies even are shared between countries. No? Israel, for example, collaborates with doctors to the country of Honduras. China have donated us masks, test kits, and breathers to Mexico. Other example is US. US donates guts to the governments of Philippines. So although they are technologies in the public domain, they are not patents as fully enforced. The collaboration of the exhaustive and accelerated research and development is being done in several countries, and it has increased very much also in trying to discover the vaccine. Now it is evident. Um, Even in political relations, it has a positive impact because I was amazed when I discovered that when I wrote this article that says that Australia and South Korea they 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 break the coolness, the cool relation that they were suffering for many years, and now they are cooperating positively to face this pandemic. Okay, so I think COVID-19 has sparked international collaboration in the search for patent and technology development to find the vaccine.
Ivan, in 30 seconds or less, you have a lot of experience in the IP sector in Mexico and working internationally. What would you say to the patent professionals around the world moving forward? What would you expect can be seen?
Thank you. Thanks so much. Well, I think unfortunately, in general, COVID-19 is telling us that the world is not prepared technically nor in law terms. And the IP laws, as well as IP prosecution, urge for a big change and quick response for this type of world issue we are living. Also, I think the companies are learning that the intangible assets are more than important, particularly now. In spite of the technological revolution that we have lived during the last 2 or 3 decades, there is a long road to walk to face properly these kind of health issues, I think.